Conscious Collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
What's up, guys? I'm Michelle.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lisa. And we are the Conscious Collaboration. And today we're here to talk to you about something we've been hearing in a lot of our circles lately. We've been hearing a lot of misperceptions within our groups, especially those who are entrepreneurs, that when they see people, they're researching people in their fields, they're under the perception that it's an instant success. These businesses, once they're formed, they go on Instagram and instant success. And it couldn't be
$1 million
idea, $1 million week, all in one swoop. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right, ladies?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that first year, the real truth.
Mm-hmm. The real truth.
One. Yeah.
Michelle's in it right now. So we're gonna get to
in
that
it to win it.
In it to win it.
So we'll get some sort of different timelines. That'll be cool.
Yes. Yeah, all the different timelines. And it's kind of looking back. So I am in my third year, a little bit more than my third year of business, owning Cloud9 Feng Shui and the Intrinsic School of Feng Shui. And it's kind of hard to look back to those very first early days and looking where I am now. I remember starting out and my dad saying to me, Lisa, just remember, I'm not an entrepreneur right for one reason right now. And that reason is if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. And it's not going to be easy. So, pretty much buckle up. And that was the truest thing. And that I hear his voice all the time. He's still like one of the people I call every day to talk about this wild ride of being an entrepreneur. But that first year of getting the foundation started for the business and really just, giving birth to something that you love so much in your mind and you believe so much in. And it's not, it's not stable. First of all, it's not stable. And therefore you might not be stable in your first year. I don't know. I mean, the people around you in that first year need to be the right people to have around you and to understand these fluctuations, because you're not going to be that same easy to reach or easy to access person that you once were. And that goes for your partners, that goes for your children in some regard and your family, because I remember often just really holding myself up into like a cave in the middle of the night and plugging away at what I thought needed to be done. And I got very much caught up into that hamster wheel that I was even trying to escape by following what I thought needed to be done. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It couldn't have been. I mean, it's hard. And, but looking back on it now, and I want to get your thoughts here in a second too, Emily, that looking back on it now at that very beginning, I am so happy that I stuck to, had the grit and determination to stick through. And you really do have to weather many storms. It requires a lot of investment. It's almost like letting blood. I remember writing checks and like really feeling like I'm giving all of my life to this business right now. And how, wondering when's the next client going to come? How am I going to find that client? How are they going to find me? And it does get going. But it's not that instant success. Even if I appear to be, even if I appeared that way on social media, it was not. It was a struggle. How about you, Emily?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I kind of came from two places. I'm also a little over, well, actually almost 4 years into my business at this point. And I both understood that I was going to have to pour my life into it. I was prepared for that. I literally put every cent that I had ever saved or gotten in my 401k into it, and same, plugging away at ridiculous hours, just doing what I thought needed to be done. But B, I was very naive in certain ways, and it's not that I thought I was going to be an overnight success, but I thought that there would be sort of a lot more like automatic clients happening than was the case. You know what I mean? I thought that certain factors like just location would play into the ease of actually getting people to come in the doors and sign up as members or clients in other ways. So I underestimated part of it, and I was pretty on target for part of it. And I wonder if sort of both of those things are necessary, both the little bit of naivete going into it and then the thinking that you need to just work at all kinds of crazy hours, doing all kinds of crazy things so that you learn those lessons in that first year.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The naivete, I think, is kind of like, there was a little bit of benefit to being naive and not knowing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but not knowing what we were getting ourselves into.
Yeah.
Because in lieu of having like the courage, we just didn't know. So,
because if you think about anything too much, you'll talk yourself out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. So much good stuff there. Now, when you look back at your foundations that you created almost 4 years ago, have you diverted much from that foundation, or has it evolved?
Oh, it has evolved immensely. We still have the foundation of the yoga studio and the fascia based work that goes into all the practices we do here. But obviously, the fitness and the weightlifting was not a part of the original concept. And, several other things are different. I started with a business partner, and, most of the revenue for the first probably year was coming actually from the fascial stretch therapy that I was doing. So, thankfully I was able to have that to keep the doors open, which was, just a freaking scramble every single month to see where this money was going to come from, to, just maintain the space. But it's evolved on its own to what it is now at the same time, or organically, I should say, not on its own. I've showed up every day and done the work, but organically it's made itself into what it has become, based on the needs of the people who ended up here.
It's kind of like our clients ended up shaping what our businesses have become.
Absolutely.
Very much so. And if we didn't go through those trials and tribulations and testing and accepting. And I think also like what you're alluding to also is, yes, have those foundations, but also have the courage to try and inject something new. It might not be something that you even know is in your wheelhouse, but your clients will see you in it.
Yeah, you can't be too rigid on anything, because the fact of the matter is, and this is another thing I learned definitely in that first year, is that your best ideas, or what you think are your best ideas, could be off base. And so if you don't adjust to what your clients and potential clients are basically telling you, then, that's going to do your business a disservice.
Do you remember some of these shifts happening? Do you remember like the exact conversation when someone would say like, Emily, I see you can do this and I need you to teach me or help me?
Yeah, for sure. That came after COVID lockdown, the couple of months that we were required to lock down, I sort of made myself into a human science experiment and just, created a pretty dramatic body transformation via workout, strength training over those couple of months. And that work that I had done for myself alone just snowballed into what Iron Yogi Fitness is today. For sure, that the clients that I already had for yoga and stretching saw what I was able to do with myself. And they were like, okay, well, you're going to teach us that now. And in fact, we're going to buy the equipment so that you can do so. So it was like,
I remember I was in a networking. I was in a networking coffee meeting with someone when you first started going through your transformation. And I don't think the Iron Yogi part had been really born yet.
Mm-mm.
But while I was in that meeting, she turned her cell phone around. Like, of course, she was looking at social media while we were meeting, and she turned her phone around. She's like, "Look at this girl. Look at how she's transforming her body." And I was like, "Whoa!" I recognized you from back in the day when I would come to the studio, and I was like, "I need to get in there." And
yeah, you were one of my OG.
Yeah.
Right after like the two true OGs, you were the next one. And now you're coming up on your 2-year anniversary, I think, somehow.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the transformation in both of our businesses has really escalated in these past 2 years. The first year is kind of, you do hit a little bit more stagnation in your cycles or the rhythm of getting your business going. But year 2 and 3, and especially, with having the right people around where you can speak freely and openly about your business and really vibe and be that like mad scientist and come from that place of play and joy and following that joy and really being in it. I feel like year 2 and 3 in conceptualizing my business, and I know you were conceptualizing yours too, and then doing that body work right in tandem was super empowering, because we have also shared, when you get into that grind of doing all the things that all the business workshops tell you to do, you get so depleted and it takes out every ounce of joy of anything of why you wanted to get into your business to begin with. And so it's that like returning to self and that same sense of play, and then surrounding yourself with people that are going to honor you for who you're becoming in that, because it's far different from before when you got in.
Well, I think that you're hitting something in that finding some joy is absolutely crucial to making it through that first year. And something that I would tell myself all the time, and I still do, but this is kind of what I would come back to when I was just really feeling like in the weeds, like what the hell did I get myself into?
Yes.
I guess kind of your ultimate why, right? But I thought to myself, despite all of this and the fact that I don't know where the next dollar is coming from, the freedom and autonomy that I've gained by making this jump is well worth the veil of stability, I'm using quotes, that came with the job that by the end of it was basically sucking my soul out through my head every day.
Yeah.
So
yes.
You really start to learn like what you need. And I know I can say that what I thought I needed before, I don't need 75% of that shit to be happy.
Yeah.
To live, to feel free and autonomous in my work every day. And so that one thought alone, that thought of freedom, this may be an air sign thing, I don't know, but that brought me the infusions of joy that I could be like, all right, well, maybe I'm not making any money today, but guess what? I get to walk in that door at whatever time I see fit, and I get to walk out of that door at whatever time I see fit, and whatever I see fit in between those times to do, I get to choose.
Yes. Yeah. And you're doing it from a place of creation
Yep.
and inspiration.
Yep.
And yeah, if there's one thing that makes me anxious in life, it's feeling stagnant and feeling stuck, and losing a sense of self. And that's one thing that you don't have when you're an entrepreneur. That goes out the window. So what replaces that anxiety that's caused by stagnation, though, is replaced by a new type of anxiety. Yay!
Yay!
And it's that anxiety. Well, you know what? And that's the thing too, is, before even becoming an entrepreneur, I was really trying to control my nerves by telling myself, a lot of times excitement is confused for anxiety. So that has always been my go-to. And I'm not saying it works all the time. And it certainly did not work in that first year all the time. But Emily can tell you too. And I'll let her riff a little bit on it. But there were times I would show up on a Monday to the studio, to Iron Yogi, to work out. And it would be, before 9 a.m. sometimes, if I made it there. And just sitting there and thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to pay all of these bills for my business? Am I going to be able to pay all these bills for my home and keep my kids in school? And just like right on a verge of losing it. And then just leaving it in the car, and then going in for my workout and getting back into that vibration of joy and fun. And I did a few times vent a little bit to Emily because I knew she would understand me. And just really putting that intention back into myself and shaping myself into being as strong as I could be to weather all these storms. But that anxiety, or maybe excitement of not knowing, is its own creature that can overtake you to some degree. But what was really cool is oftentimes I would go into that workout, I would take it out with the weights and work through it with Emily, get back to my car, and then look at my, check my messages, and everything was flowing again. And so it's almost like throughout that first year, second year, I started to recognize a pattern that when I would feel that intense fear or anxiety of not knowing, was really just my body senses, like I feel like almost a primal sense of knowing that a transformation is happening. And it would always
Spidey sense.
Yeah, I would sense it. And it would be like, right before I would up level, I would have like a breakdown.
Well, I think so. We both definitely, often in parallel times, still have those moments. At least for me, the big difference between now and then is that in that first year, it was a constant state of that moment. Because it was very real at that time, from day to day, that like, I don't have enough money. Whereas now we can put things in more of that, although it is still, real-ish from time to time, we can put things more into that context of, okay, maybe I'm just getting excited because I'm leveling up. And we can look back on our experiences from the time when it was really like just bare bones all the time, every day, constant anxiety, and be like, you know what, if we made it through then, then, it kind of builds that. So you talk about the leap of faith to open that business, but it's not just a leap of faith. And then once you take that leap, then it feels better. You're like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. Like, it's not like jumping into the pool. Like, then you gotta like stay afloat, and the faith comes over time, or you have to, practice it over time, because the faith comes day after day when you wake up and you're still not stable, and you wake up and you're still not stable, but you choose to, keep going along that path anyway.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
as the world continues to turn, you can really build upon that faith, and it's a lot easier to quell that anxiety because you've
been through
now
worse.
know that like, and I seem to always come back to this in a lot of our conversations, but that the universe is conspiring in your favor, and that you are supposed to be here doing this thing that you're doing, or else it wouldn't have continued to, work it out month after month up until this point.
It's such an amazing journey. It's so wild to think that something is almost living and breathing from just like maybe perhaps, this, idea that you shared one moment, and then it's given life. And it's not, I mean, it's by no means like a smooth and if you're thinking about it in terms of like water, it's not that like glassy, beautiful, reflective water that you see all the time. It's going to be turbulent, and it's going to be consuming, and it's just that, like you said, looking back at that early time, it does put things in perspective. And can you guys imagine, and it coming from the medical field too, if they would have like equipment on us as entrepreneurs in that first year, what our cortisol levels would look like, our heartbeat.
They were sticking us in an MRI machine every week. Our brains would be lit up.
Oh my gosh, we would be, I mean, just the comparison. I don't know if there's any studies on it out there, but it'd be interesting to see the life of an entrepreneur in that first year. And I'm sure, I mean, it might, you might feel like you're in a great fight for your life at times.
Well, I'm just very fortunate that my business is in activating the parasympathetic nervous system. I think that probably saved my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely studies when it comes to just anxiety in general, like MRI studies showing parts of the brain that lights up, and cortisol and all that. So I can only imagine that it would be right in line with those.
Well, which just highlights the importance of not letting go of those mind and body and spiritual practices, especially in that first year when you're sending all systems out of whack.
It's just as important as all those business strategies, just as important to have equally that holistic approach. Michelle, how are you feeling? I mean, hearing us talk about our journey.
Oh my God.
I hope we're not adding to any overwhelm, but can you tell us about your experience in this first year?
Yeah. So it's funny. As you guys have been talking, I'm like getting all the feels. I'm like, yes. When you talk about the excitement can also elicit anxiety because you can't tell the difference. I so can relate to that, because when you're prone to be in a flight or fight mode all the time, excitement just makes your body have those feelings. And so you can't tell the difference sometimes. So then it can elicit panic feeling and anxiety. And it's like, wait a minute, no, this is a good type of excitement, a good feeling. All of those things is like right where I'm at right now. So I'm in year one. And the thing that's interesting is I have a job alongside my business. So I have a full-time job, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I still have all of the same feelings, like I'm free falling into, into outer space 24/7, and that instability, when in reality, I do have stability under me. But like you said, Emily, it's just getting out of that, I think so badly wanting this to work and getting out of that, what I've been in, that like kind of rat race for 20 years. But then like, I think you also said this, Lisa, is especially when you're coming, I think transitioning from a corporate type of world that you've been in forever, you almost replace the rat race with the business. So you think you're going to just like leave or make this transition, however long that takes. And it's just going to be, like you said, this glassy, beautiful water, or this like rainbows and butterflies, and all the pressure is going to be gone. But really, I'm finding that I'm just replacing a different type of rat race by trying to do all the things and, trying to push so hard, which I think everybody goes through, obviously, like you both just said. And, I need this business model, or no, this business course, or, and you just get so caught up and you're like, and then you get paralyzed and you're like, what do I do next? So it's working through all of that. And something I'm finding already early on is actually to kind of stop and take a step back for a week or two and reassess and kind of say, okay, I'm like feeling not great. This is supposed to be something that you love and enjoy, and it's a daily struggle. Like, what's going on? So like take a step back, and like, I guess I'm learning already that less is more. And I'm lucky enough because I'm surrounded by the two of you who are strong, powerful, entrepreneurial women, and our groups, our network of people that I'm lucky enough to kind of learn this halfway through. And not to say that it's still not constant anxiety, like you both said as well. So, but I've kind of just like calmed the horses a little bit. I'm like, all right, I'm in that masculine push, the checklist, the whole 9 yards. And then you lose all of the energy and the positivity of it all and why you're doing it in the first place. Cause then you're replacing one thing for another. So that's been, I think, the biggest challenge for me. Now, I know, Lisa, you came from a corporate, and then Emily, you transitioned from nursing. Did you find in the beginning that, I know you said it was anxiety and all that, but did you find it was hard to transition out of that corporate mindset in a way, or that like stable 9 to 5, like all of that, and kind of get more in the flow?
Well, it's definitely hard to transition from getting a paycheck for the hours you've put in
Yes.
To putting in potentially even more and more hours and not seeing any return for a long time. So that factor alone is definitely something that's challenging to get used to for me.
Yeah, I feel like in the corporate world, I got, within my 20 years, and I was practicing mindset and balance and all of that. I made it a practice to unplug, so I could just take my work stress, anxiety from the day and mentally put it on a shelf and just detach from it. And when you have your own business, it's a different type of feeling. You can't fully detach. It's almost like it's the same as when you have your children, and it's like having your heart walk around outside of your body every day. And when you have your own business, it's that same type of feeling. And so, like Emily is saying, you're working around the clock and in some capacity for a while. And before you're able to get in a place where you can set your hours. And I have eventually gotten to a place where I work only certain hours for my health and my sanity, and I'm able to show up in the best way for my clients. But I did try in a bad way, and I advise you not to do this. I was trying to translate the 9 to 5 mentality and approach from corporate, and it did not work. That paradigm did not translate, and trying to force it made it even more uncomfortable of a transition. So much so that I even, initially I felt safest working in corporate. So a lot of my first projects were, and this is a good thing, is is when you first transition from corporate, you can still work with corporate in some way, and it feels familiar. So that kind of takes the edge off a little bit before you start, finding your way and creating your new systems. But Michelle, I feel it. Like, you're making me remember things that I must have stored away in a different part of my brain because I didn't remember.
And I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad you just said that, Lisa, because that was going to be so, like, this is super vulnerable for me because I'm like in it in the first year, but I feel like it's important for people to be able to relate. And I'm sure there's listeners out there that will probably feel the same way. Sometimes you don't want people to know because you get that imposter syndrome, like you're brand new. Yeah. And you're brand new. You don't want people to know that. You want them to know that you're the expert. And even though I know I'm damn good at what I'm doing and what I'm going into, and there's like all these other opportunities that are being presented over time. It's still very vulnerable to put this out there to the world, but I'm glad we're doing this. But what I was going to say, Lisa, is that you brought up, I very much am trying to structure the business portion as like the corporate portion. Like you said, like the 9 to 5, I do find myself struggling. And I'm sure there's others out there of like how to put in place the right structure that works for my mind and body throughout the day. When am I most productive? And you're just so like conditioned that you have to get up at this certain time and you have to do this, this, and this. And I'm going to set my timer and I'm going to get this project done. And I'm finding, like you said, Lisa, like it's not working well with my creativity. Like that's not how my creative process works, So it's like you get into business to create this life where you can have freedom, quote unquote freedom, but yet I'm creating less freedom as I'm building a business right now, if that makes any sense, because I'm putting so much pressure, I think, on myself and trying all these new things. But I realized after listening to the, your stories first that, oh, okay, this is kind of normal. But putting that, that structure, like I feel like I need structure, but yet I want freedom. Does that make sense?
Gosh,
and that's why we all go into business.
I just had this download this picture. Okay. So what you're describing to me is like creating a sense of safety. So like I'm picturing
Yes.
rock climbing. Okay. So like when you get to, like, you take a leap down that, just, figuratively, is that the right word?
Yes.
Take this figuratively, like you're taking a leap off this cliff down to the foundation, and you're like, I don't want to go down any further. So I'm going to make my foundation here for my business. And then you start putting on your safety straps and you're going to start scaling that wall. And if you put on too many restraints, too many belts and buckles, you're not going to go anywhere. If you do, it's going to be very slow.
Well, and safety, even in that scenario, is really an illusion, right?
Exactly.
It's never in any situation, corporate or otherwise, a guaranteed success.
Yeah.
Safety is not guaranteed. No. Security is not guaranteed. So it's kind of goes along with like trying to filter out social constructs that aren't really that useful to us in our businesses, and understanding what is coming from the outside and what is coming to us intuitively as far as how to proceed and structure. Because you can structure your life and your business and your day and still have freedom. It's the freedom to structure it in the way that you see fit, not that some social construct or other entity or person sees fit.
Exactly. And you both just nailed it on the head too. And as somebody that's come from, and I know we've discussed this before, with already certain things around feeling safe just in general in life, and like having underlying anxiety and things, which I do speak openly about because I feel like it's important. But it's not my story anymore. I'm rebuilding that. So I think going towards business, even though, like you said, the illusion of safety of being in a full-time job, business is like, just like Lisa said, going down that cliff. Like, I feel like I'm just at the peak of going over the side of that roller coaster and your stomach drops. That's how I feel every day. And I'm like, why is this isn't fun?
No, it can be thrilling though. People like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like grasping for everything I can to hold on. So I love that analogy that you said, Lisa. That was awesome. That's exactly. So yeah, it's exactly right on the point. So if there are listeners out there that are in that beginning stages, or even maybe they've been in business for a really long time and they've decided to completely overhaul or change and start something new, I hope that they can relate to this, because I know I can't be the only one out there. And clearly I'm not with the two of you. And I have been able to just watch, even in the last year and a half, both of your businesses explode and grow. And both of you as women are just powerhouses. And I've seen both of you grown so much in the last year and a half, which again, I'm so thankful. And I can't say this enough to the listeners out there as well. Get a team around you. It doesn't have to be many, less is more, but get that support, those women, or it can be men too, just that support of people that understand and will listen to you cry and listen to you panic and listen to celebrate your wins. Like, it is so important. You don't have to do this alone.
And I want to say it like this too. And I we've touched on this in other episodes. When you're selecting your sort of your team, your squad, be mindful of well-meaning friends and family members, especially well-meaning,
yes,
but who aren't necessarily on board fully with what you're doing, and who can be discouraging from that, even in the most subtle of ways, because they're concerned for your safety, your stability, and your well-being. But understand that is not the most supportive structure to have around you for that purpose. I'm not saying stop hanging out with your friends and family who don't quite get it, but in terms of who you're absorbing, support from, make sure that those people are on the same page.
100%. And I've even recently had a few people we'll leave it at that, but say, struggling. I see you really struggling and having a rough time. And it seems to correlate with when you decided to start growing a business. Maybe that's not for you. Business might not be for you. You should just stick to, your regular, you already got a stable job, blah, blah, blah. And again, they're just trying to keep me safe and don't like to see me struggle. Nobody wants to see someone struggle, but
it's the struggle
just,
for the growth.
They're well-meaning. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that first year of business is arguably a very spiritual experience too. You find out a lot about who you are and what you're capable of, and if you can get through those things, then you can really bolster your spirituality in that way.
Absolutely. And hopefully, this doesn't scare anybody, but this is just the raw truth. And I think it's great because there's not being talked about enough. I feel like
right. And
every time I'm looking,
the ads online for make $10,000 a day next week, get your dream clients without doing any just pay me thousands of dollars and I'll get you your dream clients overnight. Like, just like any other, get rich quick or overnight success.
And that's their whole
those are generally just not the way it goes, guys.
Yeah. And that's their whole shtick. That is their business model, to get people to come in that are in fear mode, not to disparage anybody in the self-help world, but a lot of it's turning into that now, that fear. They don't, people don't realize it, but they're feeding off of that. as their business. So yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys have any other questions for me, but I think I kind of put it all out there for everybody. But I think this has been such a great conversation, and I hope that it's helpful for folks out there to know that, we're all just doing our best and but doing pretty damn good regardless, I think. So, yeah.
And if you guys have any questions or comments or stories to contribute about the first year in business, definitely hit us up on our Instagram, Conscious Collaboration Podcast, or in our email at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, do you have anything else to add before we wrap up here?
Yeah, this has been so great. I feel so much better that we're sharing this, because I hope that we're reaching someone out there who might be on the floor right now.
Yeah.
Because
stay on the floor if you need to, but don't give up.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be on the floor for a while, and we want to hear from you. We want to see you. We want to hear from you now, and we want to hear from you in 3 years when you're making it happen. And we'd maybe love to have you come on with us and talk about your journey. And so we're going to look for your comments. Thanks so much for sending them in. We love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, talk to you in 5.
Talk to you in 5. Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs, or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.